I'd like to call to order the North Branford Planning and Zoning regular meeting, April 4th. Please join in rising and saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce the members of the commission seated this evening. To my left is Ron Sienna, a regular member to the commission. To his left is Trish Mace, a regular member to the commission. To his left is Barry Ponder, another regular member. And to his left is Paul Morano, an alternate to the commission this evening. To my far right is Janet Crane, our recording secretary. And seated at the administrative table is David Perkins, our town planner. And finally, my name is Robert Nowak. I am the chairman for the commission here tonight. Next order of business on the agenda is to review the minutes for March 7th, 2024. Commission members, take a moment to review the minutes. Let me know if you have any corrections, alterations, or adjustments you'd like to make to the minutes. Then I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes when you are ready. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, Ron, Barry, and Paul. So we can actually approve work in the minutes.
My motion, we accept the minutes dated March 7th.
We have a motion, have a second?
Second.
We have a motion for the approval of the minutes for March 7th as written. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstained? Abstained. Motion carries. Minutes for March 7th are approved. Next item on the agenda is the public hearing and possible action for application 2024-5, amendment to the zoning regs, and application 2024-6, zoning map amendment 6788 and 90 Tucket Road. With the changes that came relative to 2024-6, I'll entertain a motion to revise the current agenda to put 4B as 4A and 4A as 4B.
So moved. I make the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Meeting minutes have been amended. 4B is now application 2024-6, zoning map amendment 6788, 90 Tucket Road, amend the North Branford zoning map to change the parcels from R40 zone to I2 zone, applicant Joseph Goodwin. In recent development, there's been changes that came in front of the board. In the interim, I appreciate you guys coming out tonight. Would our secretary read into the record for regarding this application, please?
Yes, in an email to our town planner, David Perkins, Joseph Goodwin wrote, "Good morning, Dave. My family and I decided to withdraw our application for the zoning change. We're going to regroup and try to locate a building that gives us the flexibility for growth. Thank you all for your help, and I'll be in touch with you to go over the new plans I have for the property. Just don't know the developer I want to choose, but I promise to stay within my legal blueprint. Thank you." And that was dated 4/3/2024.
With that being said, do I entertain a motion to close the public hearing that I opened last meeting?
Second.
And any discussion in closing the Public hearing for application 2024-6 zoning map amendment. Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. The application, the public hearing is closed, and therefore the public hearing is closed. And since the applicant has withdrawn his application, there's no further discussion regarding the application, and this matter is considered closed. And we'll move on to the next item on the agenda.
We have questions.
Public hearing's
Go
closed.
ahead.
The public hearing is closed, so it's not going to be on record. So unless the application.
That's fine. I think you can ask me questions, call me tomorrow if you want.
Okay.
I mean,
I have a question about that email he just read from the gentleman.
it is what it is.
So is that?
We have no answers to your questions to the emails other than it is what it is.
But he's operating now and he doesn't have it.
That's a totally separate issue. If you want to address that with me at other time, that's appropriate for you to do that.
Yeah, but if the town has guidelines and he's not following the guidelines now.
That's really a discussion you should have with the zoning enforcement officer,
Okay.
not with the commission. That's me.
There's 3 properties. Is that all 3 properties that are listed on that list?
Whatever property you want to make a complaint about in the
No,
town of
no,
North
no, no.
Branford.
Is it all 3 properties withdrawing
Yes.
their request?
67, 88.
Okay, that's all I want. And they're all on one, but there are 3 different owners.
Right, it's one application for the 3 properties. They've all been withdrawn.
All right, so in other words, if any further thing, other than if they say they want to change the zoning, they come to you for answers.
Correct.
Okay, so because you're the zoning enforcer.
I am.
So if we feel he's doing something illegal, it's not complying with the zone that it's zoned for, we come to you and you investigate.
You bet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time, have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Why don't we take a 5-minute recess to clear the room?
We can move on. This next one.
I like the next one. I reviewed that one, which I'll take care of.
So next item on the agenda is the public hearing for item B, application 2024-5, amendment to the zoning regulations, revised section 42-.5.7, 41.3.3, 53.4.13, lines B-5, B-5.1 regarding child daycare to comply with Public Act 23-42 applicant, North Branford Planning and Zoning Commission.
So again, we were required to change our zoning regulations by Public Act 23-142, which we were supposed to have done by the end of last year, in order to comply with the state regulations allowing home daycare as of right in the residential zones. We've rewritten the zoning regulations to allow that to happen. If we don't pass this zoning regulation, we will not be eligible for some funding from the state. So it's in our best interest to comply.
Okay,
They've given us the stick rather than the carrot.
alrighty then.
So I think you have a motion in front of you, and you have the changes to the zoning regulation in front of you.
So just for the record, David, written to the commission, attached proposed changes to zoning regs to comply with Public Act 23-42, prohibiting municipalities from treating any family, child care home of group,
Or group.
typo. Or group child care home differently than any single or multifamily dwelling. Currently, these rules are by special permit and now becomes uses as of right. I have scheduled a public hearing for today. Changes to the changes to the definitions, elimination, and changes to the various sections I'll read into the record for those who are interested. 53.4.13 Child Care Center has been, this line item has been changed to eliminate family daycare homes and group daycare homes. It now reads Child Daycare Center, Domestic Animal Daycare Center. Item 41.3.3 Family Daycare Homes has been eliminated in its entirety. Item 42.5.7 Group Daycare Homes has been eliminated in its entirety. Under this particular item, 53.4.15 or 14, Family Daycare Home has been changed to Family Child Care Home. Private, the first line of that section reads, private family home caring for not more than 6 children, etc. The item for family homing has been changed to home. Group daycare home has been changed to read group child care home.
So the group child care home is for more than 7 children and less than 12. And a family child care home is for no more than 6 children. So there are 2 sort of left.
That's the 2 different distinctions, right? Okay. Thank you, Dave. So this was, just for the record, there's no one sitting in the audience today for this line item. It is a continuation from a previous public hearing. Unless there's any discussion relative to this item for the commission, and since there's no audience, I'll entertain the motion to go ahead.
I do have a
I'm sorry?
referral from the South Central Connecticut Regional Planning Commission. The Regional Planning Commission has determined that the proposed zoning regulation text amendment, proposed zoning amendments concerning daycare homes does not appear to cause any negative intermunicipal impacts to the towns in the South Central region, nor does there appear to be any impacts to the habitat or ecosystem of Long Island Sound.
Thank you, Dave. Was there anything relative to the SCROG, South Central Regional Council of Governments? Anything associated with this? Was there a comment from them?
That's the comment I just made.
Oh, okay, gotcha, my bad. I forgot about that piece of the package. Thank you, Dave. Anything else before I move on?
No,
Okay.
you're all set.
This time,
This is a state mandate, correct?
that's correct. I don't think there's much discussion as
Yeah.
many things dictated.
Do we have
by the
to
state.
close the
Yes, sir.
public hearing?
Yep, so I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing that was opened on March 21st.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
I second.
Okay, motion to close the public hearing for application 2024-5. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, the public hearing is closed for this item. Is there any further discussion on this particular item on the agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for this item on the agenda.
I make a motion to approve with an effective date of April 5th, 2024. Planning and zoning application 2024-5, text amendment for revisions to child daycare definitions in the following sections of the regulations. Applicant, North Branford Planning and Zoning Commission, section 42.5.7, 41.3.3, 53.4.13, lines B-5 and B-5.1.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Question.
Go for it.
If it's a state mandate,
Yes, sir.
why do we even have to vote on it?
Because we can ignore it and not get funding from the state.
I understand. I'm in favor of it. As a taxpayer in town, yes.
Okay, so this is in compliance with Public Act 23-42. Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. So that concludes that item on the agenda for public hearing and possible action. Old business, there's none listed. New business, anything you want to bring up, Dave, for new business?
No,
Or other
I
business?
think we can go into the
Go ahead.
zoning regulation conversation.
Okay, let's go to other business then.
Next item.
Other business, zoning regulations updates, Dave, sorry about that.
So I gave you all a set of our current zoning regulations, Schedule B, I guess, for the permitted uses. And I think it's time to go back sort of through this and figure out whether some of these are archaic uses from like the 1960s and 70s that make no sense. There's some sort of exceptions to it. This one I'll bring to your attention right away, which is item C-12. And maybe you should look at C-11 first, which is at the bottom of one of these pages, which talks about painting, plumbing, electrical, woodworking, which is only allowed in the I-2 zone, which is why our previous applicant chose I-2. And then if you go to the next page, C-12, it talks about painting establishments and binderies. So clearly C-12 should be a printing establishment and bindery, since those are allowed in the B1, I2 and I3 zones. And 12-1 is accessory to 12, which talks about printing establishments. So we're just cleaning that up and changing painting establishments back to printing establishments because it was a typo, right?
How do we know it was a typo?
Well, because it just makes sense. Because how can 12.1 be subservient to 12 when one's painting and one's printing?
Right, because C-12-1 says the printing establishments and binderies when
And
occupied.
Trish, I went back to previous schedules and it was correct
Oh,
on
interesting.
the previous one.
Okay.
So it was like Word picked it up and
Yeah, and
said
somebody was a little tired.
you had printing that you were just talking about before.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
please say yes.
And then lower down on that same page, 14.1. At the bottom, there's a parentheses, less than 500 feet. And it seems to indicate that 55 is an appropriate number for 500.
Yeah.
So
Oh, boy.
we're just gonna fix that too when we update this by eliminating the schedules that we just passed. And then if you go to the bottom, C-16, it talks about manufacturing, processing for assembly of goods, research laboratories. And then on the next page, it has 16.1, which is sort of an accessory use. And this is throughout this whole chart. It says when accessory and subordinate to another permitted use on the same lot. And I'm questioning with the town attorney and with you, to me, it seems to indicate that subordinate to another permitted use on the same lot could be any use,
Yep.
right? So, I mean, if you have a retail sale and distribution of heating oil, you can also do manufacturing as an accessory use. So I'm trying to get a clarification of that, what that really means. And I think there should be some better wording
Okay.
in there.
Well, and then also 16 is not permitted everywhere, then all of a sudden 16.1, which is the same thing as permitted everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As long as it's accessory, so you
Yeah.
have a primary use and then you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
If we could just sort of look at this over the next couple of weeks, like the motor vehicle sales is sort of strange. The restaurant use talks about drive-up windows, and it doesn't talk about drive-up windows, it talks more about service at automobiles. It's almost like it's the car hop from the 1950s, as opposed to Starbucks and the current. We don't have any regulation about queuing. You're gonna have 2 applications in the near future for drive-up windows where we have no specific regulations about queuing or length of drives needed to access windows. And
I thought there was I mean, obviously you know the regs better than I feel like there is something in there, like there needs to be just a long enough queue.
we don't really have anything
Really?
that specifies
Huh?
the length of the queue.
And while we're on it, Dave, can we look up like mixed-use regulations as well? Like,
We have some.
Mixed use zone.
zones, yeah.
Well, I
If we're
mean-
looking at stuff,
I mean, the other side of this coin is not just reading
it might need updating. That's the
left
only thing I
and
would
right
say.
about the different uses, but I've been reading up and down and trying to compare what uses you can have in the B1 and you can't have in the B2.
Yeah, I was saying,
You can have in the
are we
B2
looking
and
at
not
that
in the
too?
B1.
Okay. Cause yeah, like even with 12.1, you can't do it in B2, but then all of a sudden you could do it in C12, you can't do in B2, then C12.1 you can do in B2.
Exactly.
And it just makes no sense. Okay, so we're doing both ways. Words
And I
and,
understand that, you know, printing establishments, you may not want to have buildings over 5,000 square feet in those zones.
where's the description of the zones? Is that somewhere in the
Up here.
regs?
The location of the zones.
So the zones are determined by location?
Yes,
I don't think I remember that.
which gets further into my conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you have to start with the B1 and the B2 zones, okay? The B2 zone is in Northford Center and in North Branford Center,
Yeah.
and then also in this strip down by,
I know what you're talking about, but like
Agway.
plain Agway.
down by Agway, and that whole area. It's B2, but it's B1 behind it, where there's that whole sort of strip of stores in the back across the street from Agway that can do the B1 type stuff. And the B1 is more intense than the B2. So you can't have like a car dealership in.
How do you know that? Because just by looking at this, like,
Correct.
I wouldn't know, okay.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to get together with Rory, the economic development coordinator, and sort of sit down and try to figure out.
Look at it, to put some sense to it.
Yeah, where this all came from, because it's been this way since,
I think it was somebody wants to, for the most part, somebody wants to do something, oh, let's add that, which
well, it
you're
was.
building the plane and filing it at the same time.
There were a whole lot of things slipped in over the years
Yeah.
that were just said, okay, it's allowed in that zone because that's where you want it.
Dave, the B3 zone is only where Starbucks is, isn't it?
Yeah.
If I was looking at the map the other day,
The B3 zone
it's that little.
is only allowed up here,
Oh,
which is off of the apartments off of Mansfield.
oh, okay.
One block, just when you go over the bridge.
Yeah, it was
for
all
the
done.
Mansfield Apartments, and that Aces. That's it.
Oh,
Then
So
can
we
you
don't really
say,
need a B- We don't really need a B3 zone. And the I3 zone
oh, it's like
is
trying to find a needle in a
located-
haystack. It's like trying to find a needle, like how does it differ, and that
Right,
gives you the answer
exactly.
why, but,
well, I think the B2 clearly is sort of a downtown type zone,
okay.
where we want retail stores and we don't want factories and
Okay.
businesses.
okay.
I mean, that sort of makes sense, but we do have an overlay zone for Northford Center
Right.
and North Branford that is on top of it.
Right.
The
So can-
I3 zone, I think, really was larger tracts. I've seen places where it's called the industrial park zone, but it's larger tracts that were really not eligible for sewers or couldn't get sewers. But the I3 zone is down here, which is where the,
Rose's Orchard?
no, what I call the old folks home, but it's.
Oh, Evergreen Woods.
Evergreen, that's where I
Oh,
live.
Yeah, nice,
Yeah.
Evergreen Woods. Evergreen Woods,
can
and
get
there's
some.
2 lots next door owned by Yale New Haven. And Evergreen Woods is in the sewer. And this is Fowler Road, which wetlands is approved for some things. And we've talked about affordable housing there, and they have some overlay districts that they've been approved for. In this I3 zone, the I3 zone is over here, which is the sportsplex, plus these 2 little lots at the bottom here, which is a residential house. And I'm not quite sure why there's an I2 just to the west of it.
That whole farm is industrial, by the sportsplex?
Yeah,
Some of it's zone residential?
it's all zoned industrial.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, I thought it was all zoned
It's
industrial.
all I3.
Yeah,
In I3, you can't really do a whole lot. The only thing you can do in I3 that you can't do in I2 is have a hotel or a motel.
Holiday Inn. Nobody? Song?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's like
I
it's
got
really
it.
loud. Okay,
Sugar.
I3 up here by Notifier and the skating rink
Mm-hmm.
at the top. And over here, this is the storage on Middletown Avenue.
Yep.
Up here.
so the only difference between I2 and I3 is a hotel motel.
So why do we need a B1 and a B2? The POCD talks about combining them together. Maybe we should look at the uses that are allowed in one and the other. I'll try to come up with a spreadsheet that gives you more information over the next week too.
Okay.
Definitely. It's hard to get your arms around all of it. B1, B2.
'Cause it's so
B3. Oh,
scattered.
my goodness. all
Yeah,
over
and
the
it
place.
really sort of started with the application to change the zone up on Setoka Road, and I was like, well, what sort of Pandora's box does that open up, and does it make any sense? And even the B1 and the B2 zones have a bunch of exclusions.
That aren't consistent, right?
Right, but they overlap into the industrial use. There's some
Yeah,
B1
Yeah.
uses that are also I1 uses.
correct.
Right.
And I think part of it is to start having that conversation with the Economic Development Commission and what makes sense to them as well. So I think if we sort of work in this, they can work on it and we can work on it.
Yeah, small
find
chunks at
out.
a time.
The MVPs.
Well, and find out where we need, let's not
Yeah.
even do it together, let's do it as
Okay.
separate
And I
plan.
was looking at the text on it.
Right,
and
like the,
some of the wording, so-
Industrial zone on Route 80, just on the way to Agway on the left, that big piece of property, multiple properties is always in disrepair, and I guess someone bought it and is redoing it, but it's an industrial zone right in the gateway to North Branford. Everyone complained about it over time. Oh, it's a mess, too many trucks, too many this, that. It got bought and cleaned up, but it's still an I zone right on Route 80 as the gateway into North Branford. Welcome to North Branford. That's always the issue.
Right, and then as you get closer to Guilford, it's like a downtown zone.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I'm just the messenger.
Or Captain Obvious. There's a lot of work to be done on this, Dave, that's for sure. Taking it in chunks, I guess, is the best way to
Yeah.
do it. It's overwhelming, to say the least. Cross volunteers, non-paid employees. of North
Right, well, I think
Branford.
if we can just sort of make this more modern,
Yeah.
and it's, how
Clean
many
it up.
pages? It's many 2 pages long, and people come in and they say, what can I do? I'm like, wait,
Give me a day.
where do you fit into this plan?
What do other towns similar to us look like? Is it this busy? I'm just
It's-
curious.
The older towns are this busy, the newer towns are more succinct.
Okay.
And we really haven't had a overhaul of our zoning regulations ever.
Yeah.
We're limping along from, and the bulk use table, which specifies your setback distances and floor area ratios and all that sort of stuff. The R80 zone has a frontage of 25 feet. The R40 zone requires a frontage of 125 feet. The R80 zone requires a frontage of 25 feet.
So technically, why is it less? What is it bigger?
And I believe that's been a typo since 19.
Oh, Madon.
And the question is whether it should be 125
Oh, true,
or 250.
Wow.
that's right. I was thinking of a rear lot, quite frankly.
But see, we allow rear lots, so how can you have an R80 lot with a frontage of 25 when that would be a rear lot?
Wow.
Just simple typos.
That have huge legal ramifications. These are huge legal
Yeah,
ramifications.
big time. It says.
So I think that one is probably gonna need a public hearing to actually change it. I don't think I can't find any minutes or.
Oh, to say it
any-
was a typo.
But at one point in time, there was an R40 zone and there was an R60 zone.
Hmm.
And the R40 had 125 frontage, the R60 had 125, and then they changed the R60 to an R80. And at that point, I think somebody forgot to hit
The number
the
one.
one key.
Right.
But I think we really need a public hearing to change it.
That would go without saying for all of it, right, Dave? Even the 55, from 500 to 55.
Well, I think those are
Ancillary.
clearly typos.
The typos.
And will you have the data for it as well?
And I can defend those.
But you were gonna get legal counsel too, right? You were gonna get legal counsel on that as well? If I remember correctly, you were gonna.
I will, yes.
Yeah, and that makes it so much easier.
And outside of that, we have a meeting next time for a reconstruction of the Gulf gas station on Foxen Road in front of the Sportsplex, where they wanted to demolish it and rebuild it. And if you remember, gonna sell donuts and fried chicken.
Oh, from the gas
and
station?
coffee.
That's awesome.
Does that mix? Donuts and fried chicken?
Yeah, same time,
Absolutely,
yeah,
right?
same oil. Just
They gotta
dip
go-
chicken in, take it out, put the donut in.
Why not?
Perfect.
I guess it will mix.
Anything else, Dave?
That's all I have.
That's all you got? So homework for us is to look at the overwhelming
I guess it's just to look at
Schedule
the
A.
difference.
Schedule B. Schedule A, right?
Schedule A.
Schedule A. We did have discussion, Dave, early on about changing some of the zones. And this kind of falls right into play with that. I think we're looking at it from an EDC kind of realm, and how can we make Route 80 more cohesive for business development rather than an R40 zone? So kind of falls in line with what we've been talking about all along for the past couple of years. With that being said, our next meeting is April 28th.
18. No,
No?
18.
April 18th.
18, my bad. 18. So with that being said, I will not be here for that
Nor
meeting.
will I.
Brian and I are not going on vacation
I was gonna
together.
say, where are you guys going? What
Their
country are you going to? Where are you
vacations.
going?
Some tropics. No, not for me though. So two of us won't be here, so unless Bill or the next oldest member will be Tricia, if you can make it.
I'll try. The girls' softball starts, and I don't have their schedules yet, so I will always try.
Okay.
But I don't know. I don't know how middle school softball goes. What the night games are on.
Right after school. Depends if you're away or home.
Yeah. So I always will try.
So with that being said, Dave, I don't know if we'll have a quorum or not for the meeting next, on the 18th.
Okay, well, I'll try to rally the troops early. You guys sound okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would just be Bill, Barry, and Paul, or Trish with the maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's fine, as long as we have three.
Right, you just have to confirm that.
It's not that difficult an application.
Okay. Any other discussion from the commission members on anything on the agenda, anything you guys want to chat about relative to what we're discussing, not discussing? Okay. Hearing none, then we'll move on to item 9, adjournment.
We're getting out early. I motion we adjourn.
I second.
With that being said, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. The meeting is over at, oh my goodness, record time, 7:07.
Is it?
All right.
Well done.
Awesome.